It is a rainy day over here on Long Island, so we are on the walking pad. You know how we do, getting those steps in. But this is going to be such a good conversation and something that's so important, whether you are trying to conceive naturally, doing medicated cycles, IUI, IVF, whatever. Because, and like, if you've listened to anything of mine, whether it's a podcast episode, a post, whatever, I talk all the time about how I do not recommend getting blood work to see where your hormone levels are at because they are wildly inaccurate for so many reasons. But I do recommend getting blood work for three different nutrients. You're just your nutrients levels in general, but we're going to talk about three specific ones today that are going to be so important to be in optimal levels for your chances of getting pregnant and having a healthy pregnancy. And if you haven't maybe heard about why I don't like blood work, the reason is because it's a snapshot in time, right? So like when you get your blood work done, you're not seeing how your hormones are functioning throughout the day, especially your cortisol levels. You're just seeing a snapshot in time that actual day. And most of the time, you are getting hormone levels tested when they're not meant to be tested, right? Like you have to test certain hormones on certain days. So for like blood work, when we're talking about your progesterone levels, it's supposed to be a week after ovulation. A lot of doctors will just say, okay, come and take your progesterone levels on day 21. Oh, well, first of all, many doctors won't even tell you a specific day. And if they do tell you a specific day, they'll just say, come day 21. But not everybody ovulates on day 14. So day 21 wouldn't make sense for people. Like it wouldn't make sense for me. I ovulate a bit later. I usually ovulate around day 19, 20 of my cycle. So I that would make no sense for me. That wouldn't give me an accurate number. Same thing for estrogen. You're supposed to test estrogen on day 3 of your cycle in blood work. So a lot of times you are getting hormone levels tested at the wrong timing. So it's not giving you an accurate picture of where things are at, and it's just a waste of your time. Also, the optimal levels are not what the normal ranges are. So you could go, you'll get, your blood work done, things will either come back normal and you're like, what do you mean? No, what do you mean things are normal? I haven't got my period in a year. Or I've been struggling to get pregnant. Like, what do you mean things are normal? It's because the ranges are so wide and so off that things will be flagged normal. And it's letting you know, oh, okay, then I guess this isn't a problem because things are just coming back normal. And then you feel crazy and it's just a mess. Okay. So I don't like blood work for hormone levels, but I do like blood work for specifically your vitamin D, your vitamin B12 levels, your D3 levels, and your iron, like your ferritin levels. These are so tightly connected to your ability to ovulate, to hold on to a pregnancy, to get pregnant, to have a healthy pregnancy. And I'm going to talk about each three of these and why they're so important and the optimal ranges I want you to actually look for on your blood work. Okay. And it's important for men too, right? Not just women. This is important for men as well. And I'm going to talk about each one and why it's important for women, why it's important for men. So, and also, a lot of people think, and obviously you have to get this tested because you need to know how to properly dose your vitamin D3 levels, your B12, all of that. So that's going to be totally dependent too on the amount that's in your multi or your prenatal, what your levels are, the needs that they're at. So when you get this tested, I will tell you the optimal levels to actually look for. And then you could like look at it on your blood work. And even if it comes back normal, you're like, no, actually it's low based on the optimal levels. Then you could work with your doctor, whoever you're working with, to get a proper dosage. Okay. So B12, this is not just for people who are plant-based or vegetarian, right? Like, of course, if you're plant-based and you're vegetarian, you're not going to be getting any in your food likely because B12 is mostly found in meat. But even people who do eat meat, a lot of times are low in vitamin B12. So this is not, you're not just like exempt because you maybe eat meat. So like this needs to be tested no matter what. And for B12 specifically, this can impact your egg quality and your ovulation. So B12 is essential for your DNA replication and cell division, which is directly impacting your egg quality and your ovarian function. So if you have low B12 levels, you can have irregular ovulation. So low B12 can interfere with your estrogen and your progesterone metabolism, and that's going to affect you actually regularly ovulating. So that's one reason what the deficiency of B12 can actually impact your fertility. Because obviously, if you're not regularly ovulating, you're not producing strong progesterone levels, you're not going to be able to get pregnant as frequently, like you have as many chances to get pregnant if you're not ovulating regularly. And also your progesterone levels are going to be low, which is going to negatively impact you getting pregnant. Okay. Also B12 has to do with the methylation and folate cycle. So B12 works with folate in the actual methylation cycle to regulate homocysteine. So if you have high homocysteine because of a B12 deficiency, this can negatively affect fertility and also increase your risk of miscarriage, which is major. Now, I almost said spoiler, that's not the right word I want to use for this, but if you are someone who had a miscarriage, I don't ever want any information like this to make it feel like it was your fault. Like, oh, I was low in vitamin B12, so if I caused the miscarriage. Like, no, that is not what I'm saying, but I am giving you information to help you moving forward, to help reduce the chance as much as we can. Sometimes things literally just happen. And also it's just, okay, let's take this information and let's do what we can with it and support ourselves as best as we can. But this is not like, oh, it's your fault or anything like that because you maybe had low B12, okay? There's other things that go into it as well. Okay. Also, B12 affects your uterine lining. So adequate B12 levels support the growth of your uterine lining. You need to have a thick uterine lining in order for the egg to implant, and then actually become a baby, right? And hold on to the baby. You have to have that lining building up and very healthy, thick levels. You don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin, obviously, but you need adequate B12 to support that healthy uterine lining and to improve your chances of implantation. And deficiencies are linked to higher risk of neural tube defects in babies, preeclampsia, and recurrent miscarriage. So B12 is so important. A lot of times it should be in your prenatal for sure, but also a lot of times you have to supplement on top of it. Okay. Actually, I was going to go through the optimal levels at the end, but I'll just do it for each one, as we're going through it. So optimal ranges, here I've written down, for B12 is between 500 and 900 pg/ml. 500 to 900 pg/ml. The normal ranges are way lower than that, okay? Way lower than that. So that's what the optimal range is. You want them to be between 500 and 900, okay? I love a liquid B12 because it absorbs in your body as best as possible. I always like liquid if possible, whenever we can use it. It also gives you a lot of energy when it's liquid like that. I personally use the Pure Encapsulations one. It's a liquid. It's 1,000 micrograms of the B12. That's what I take every single day based off of what I need. So it's also if you are, I don't think you'll be listening to this if you're breastfeeding, but if you are, or if you're going to be breastfeeding, you need a lot more B12 because the baby takes it all from you. So anyway, that's a whole other conversation. And I'll link the Pure Encapsulations one in the show notes for you too. Okay. Now that's for women. Now for men, how this can negatively impact sperm health is that B12 supports the sperm count, the motility, and the morphology. And deficiencies are associated with reduced sperm concentration and DNA damage in sperm cells. So this is not just for the egg quality. This is also for the sperm health. So you and your partner go together, get your blood work done, make it a cute little date, and get your levels checked, okay? Now, okay, so that's B12. Now D3. D3 is actually a hormone in the body. It is not a vitamin. We call it vitamin D3, but it's not a vitamin. It is a hormone in your body. And it affects literally thousands of different functions in our body. But a couple of the ones that we're going to talk about as related to fertility and pregnancy is ovarian function and egg quality. So vitamin D3, there are vitamin D3 receptors in your ovaries, and it actually influences your follicle development and ovulation. So having enough follicles, having healthy follicles, regularly ovulating, strong ovulation, that is really important for our D3 levels. D3, not really important for D3 levels. It is really important to have high enough D3 levels in order for that to happen. And low levels of D3 are linked with poor egg quality. So that is really, really important. Again, a lot of doctors will be like, oh, you have low egg quality, you can't change it. I'm like, really? Yeah, you absolutely can. And this is one way, okay? Also, it impacts hormone regulation in general. Similar to what we were talking about with B12, D3 supports your balanced estrogen and progesterone levels and the production of it and helps keep your cycles regular. And then the third thing is the endometrial receptivity, which is, again, that uterine lining. We're talking about uterine lining support. Adequate D3 levels improve the uterine lining health and implantation rates, so you can improve your implantation chances. Very similar to B12 as well, same thing. Also, this, for my PCOS girls like me, many women with PCOS are deficient in vitamin D3, like more deficient than people who don't have PCOS. And D3 helps improve your insulin sensitivity, which is what we want. We want to be insulin sensitive. You don't want to be insulin resistant, which most people who have PCOS are. That's a major root cause of PCOS. And it's just blood sugar dysregulation in general is a major root cause of all hormonal issues. So we want to be insulin sensitive, so our cells are sensitive to insulin, so then that insulin goes into the cell instead of floating around the body, causing that blood sugar dysregulation, okay? Which obviously this is then going to impact your ovulation, because when we are insulin resistant, we have that excess insulin floating around the body, causing blood sugar dysregulation. It negatively impacts your ovaries, your ovulation, literally everything, okay? So in order to be more insulin sensitive, vitamin D3 is really helpful for that. And low levels of vitamin D3 are also associated with higher risk of early pregnancy loss. And there has been studies shown as well. I think this was, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it was Elisa Vitti who did a study on this, or like she quoted a study that was done on this, that low levels of vitamin D, like women who were going through IVF, the women who had lower vitamin D3 levels had less of a chance of a successful IVF than women who had higher vitamin D3 levels. So it's really, really important. For this, the optimal ranges are between 50 and 60. I believe it's NG/ml as well. NG/ml, between 50 and 60. I did a post on this on TikTok, and a woman commented on it, and she was like, my levels were 13 and my doctor told me it was okay. I was like, oh my God, hold my lemon water, because I'm about to go off on this. Are you serious? Like, that is ridiculous. That is even too low for the normal ranges. I think the normal quote unquote ranges are like 20 to 30, which is still insanely low. This was a 13. And her doctor's like, yeah, you're good. What the, I might just say he or she, whatever, should be fired. That's absolutely ridiculous. You want up between 50 and 60. Okay. I might do a whole nother podcast episode on that. We'll see. Cause I just could not even believe that. Anyway, I do the vitamin D3 sunshine drops from Gut Personal. I like that it's liquid. Again, it's another liquid one, because your needs are going to change when you are pregnant. Your needs are going to change from trimester to trimester, because your D3 levels tank in third trimester. So you need to take more. Also, depending on the season, how much sunlight you're getting on your skin without sunblock, that's how you actually absorb the vitamin D3. Is going to depend on the amount of D3 that you actually need, and however much is in your prenatal is also going to depend on how much you need to take in addition to it. So that's why I like the sunshine drops. One single drop is 1,000 IUs, which is amazing. So you might only need like 1 or 2 drops, depending on how deficient you are. Again, based on where your levels are at, you're going to have to work with your doctor to see how much more. Like if your level, like that girl who was at 13, she needs to take like 10,000 IUs for a couple of weeks and then scale back, obviously with the help of her doctor or whoever she's working with. But that's that for D3. Now for men, it's also really important because there are also vitamin D receptors in the testes. So adequate levels are linked to better sperm motility and testosterone production. So again, men, this is for you too, okay? It takes two to motherfucking tango. All right, last one is iron. So, and will come up as ferritin in your blood work. I always recommend, first of all, I recommend getting all these tested before you even start trying to conceive, but especially if you are in the act of trying to conceive, getting all this tested. And then when you are pregnant, I recommend getting this tested right away, like at your 8-week appointment. And then I recommend getting it tested again towards the end of your second trimester, because your needs are going to change and you want to see where you're at and how you need to supplement appropriately. Okay. So for women, ovulation, low iron levels can negatively impact ovulation. It could cause anovulation where you're not ovulating, right? You're not releasing the egg. So if you're iron deficient, that can really add to you not being able to actually properly ovulate. Iron also supports mitochondrial energy production. Mitochondria are just the energy centers of our cell, and they actually help develop our eggs. So low iron means that you're going to have less cellular energy for that, like maturation, like your egg maturing, okay, and being where we want it to actually be for a healthy pregnancy. Same thing as B12 and D3. Adequate iron helps build up that thick uterine lining so that you can have increased chance of implantation. Low iron has been linked with higher rates of early pregnancy loss as well. And then same thing with PCOS. Women with heavy periods and or PCOS related like bleeding, especially if some people with PCOS will just like bleed all the time or not at all, whatever, it totally depends. But you could be more prone to iron deficiency. So if you're someone who maybe you have endometriosis or you don't have any of these things, you just have a really heavy period, you're losing a lot of blood, you could be iron deficient. So you're going to really want to make sure you're getting that checked out. And for men, iron, it's not like a fertility booster for men as it is for women. Too much iron can actually damage sperm through oxidative stress. So it's for men, it's really important to keep it in balance, right? You don't want a deficiency, but you also don't want excess. So getting it tested to see if he needs to add more or to see if he has too much is going to be really important. And then where is it? Okay, ferritin levels, optimal ranges are between 70 and 100 ng/ml. Now, again, your needs are going to change when you are pregnant. I personally love the needed one. I've took their iron all throughout pregnancy. I had to take like 4 capsules at one time in my 3rd trimester because I was low. And then I'm still taking, actually just reordered it because I'm like feeling like I'm a little bit low right now. I have to get my blood work done. I'm actually getting a Dutch test through Gut Personal. I had to wait 3 months after breastfeeding to like have things level out. But anyway, I love the needed one because it has iron bisglycinate, which is the most absorbable form, and it's less harsh on your stomach because iron can cause constipation. It could cause like some stomach pains if you're taking a form that's like harsher and not as gentle on your stomach. But also it has vitamin C. Oh, wait, no, I take it with vitamin C. It doesn't have it in it. No, it doesn't have it with it. I take it with it. But I like that the needed one has the iron bisglycinate form that's generally just gentle on your stomach in general. And I always take it with vitamin C. I use the Symbiotica vitamin C because vitamin C helps you actually absorb iron. So ideally you want to take it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning with vitamin C to help absorb everything. And you want it separate away from your prenatal because you don't want your prenatals to have iron in it because you won't be able to absorb the calcium that's in your prenatal if iron is present. Iron prohibits the absorption of calcium. So that's why you want it separate. So that's why I love the needed prenatal in general because it doesn't have iron in it. It has a million other amazing things in it. Because if there was iron in it, then you couldn't properly absorb the calcium, which is obviously really important. So I take the iron separate, but on their website too, it'll show, it has a chart of like where your levels are at and what you need based off of what trimester you're in, which is so helpful. And obviously if you're trying to conceive. So we'll put the links for all of that below. Again, the B12, I like the pure encapsulations. The D3, I use the Gut Personal Sunshine Drops. And then the iron, I use the needed. And obviously you can work with your doctor or whatever for the dosages and stuff like that. But that is what I do recommend getting tested in your blood work, especially too before going through IVF. Now, if you are someone who is like thinking of doing IVF or Medicaid cycles or whatever, and you go get your blood work, like, okay, Corinne, I'm listening to you. I'm going to my blood work. I'm going to see where my levels are at, and they're low. And you're like, shit, but I'm supposed to do IVF like next month. Personally, if it was me, right? And if you were a client, like this, what I would tell you to wait. I would tell you to wait until your levels get to a more stable place, which could only take like a couple months, depending on how bad they were, right? Depending if like your D3 was like at that level 13, like this woman that was telling me on TikTok, or your B12 was super, super low. Like I would wait at least a month or two, take the supplementation, get your levels boosted up, get it tested again, and then go through with your planned IVF or whatever. I know if you already have a plan, it could be really hard to move it. But personally, that's what I would do because IVF is extremely like mentally, emotionally, physically, financially taxing. You want to head into it knowing that you are setting yourself up for success. Does it mean that just because you have good vitamin D3 and B12 it's going to be foolproof? No, obviously not. But personally, I would want myself and you, anybody going through it, to have all your ducks in a row, right? To make sure that you are as supported as possible so that ideally you only have to do it one time. And I know it could feel like, oh, it's delaying the process because, we're supposed to, it's like, it might look like in the beginning it's delaying the process, but if you're going in with all those deficiencies and it doesn't work, and then you have to start all over again, that's what's really delaying the process, right? And again, it's not about just getting pregnant. It's about having a healthy pregnancy and having adequate levels of all nutrients, obviously, but these 3 specifically is going to be so powerful for you in getting pregnant, having healthy pregnancy, feeling good postpartum. And also don't get it motherfucking twisted because this is not the only thing that you need to be focusing on. in order to boost your fertility for a strong and healthy pregnancy, whether you're doing it naturally or with IVF. Obviously, we have to also, like, nutrient deficiencies are one piece of the puzzle. Right now, we need to zoom out and look at the whole puzzle, 360-degree view, excuse me, and see, like, okay, our blood sugar regulation, our nervous system regulation, our gut and our liver health, like, all of this plays a piece into it, because the reason why you might even be deficient in these things could be because your gut is jacked up, right? Could be because your nervous system is so fucked that it's messing up your gut. And then that is causing you to be nutrient deficient, right? And your nervous system could be so jacked up from a lot of reasons, but also because maybe your blood sugar is dysregulated, which is a stress on the body causing your nervous system to get all fucked up. And then your nervous system is fucked up and it's causing your gut to be fucked up. And then your gut is fucked up, so now you're not absorbing nutrients, right? It's all connected. There's a method to my madness, okay? Obviously, I teach you all this in the Mind Your Hormones method. That is so important. It's not just about these nutrient levels, but this is really important, and I really wanted to highlight it so you had this information. But don't get it twisted. You got to do all of it, okay? And obviously, if you want information on the Mind Your Hormones method, which if you, like, I mean, I wish everyone would just get their hands on this. It's your step-by-step guide of exactly what to do in your diet, your lifestyle, and your supplementation to make sure that you're optimizing the systems in your body that actually affect all of your hormones, and that you're really getting down to the root cause. Because any low levels of whatever, that's not, like, low progesterone, low AMH, whatever, that's not the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is what's causing that to be low, right? So you have to have these systems optimized in order to see true change. So that will always be available for you. I'll put that in the show notes. You could use code podcast for 10% off. I love you so much. Save this one, share it, all the things. We got our optimal levels. I'll do it one more time at the end, so it could be easier for you if you need to go back and listen. Okay, optimal levels of B12, 500 to 900 pg/ml. Optimal levels of D3 are 50 to 60 ng/ml. Iron ferritin, 70 to 100 ng/ml. Get your shit tested with your partner, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for being here. If you loved this episode and learned something valuable, please share it with a friend who you think would also love it, or post it on social media and tag me so I could personally say thank you for helping me spread this important message. I am beyond grateful to be here with you. So until next time, stay intentional, stay consistent, and always mind your hormones.